This is the Focusrite Scarlett 18i20 4th generation USB-C audio interface, the latest in a long line of best-selling interfaces with new features that may make it the one to get in 2025. But there is one big thing you need to know about that could be a deal breaker before you add to cart. Let's talk specs and features, do a preamp noise test, latency test, and find out if the 4th generation 18i20 is the one for you. If after watching this video you decide you want to buy one of these units, I put links in the description and the top comment with the lowest possible prices I could find to help you get the best deal. The 18i20 is the flagship model of the 4th generation Scarlett series, has 18 inputs, 20 outputs, 24-bit 192 kHz converters, and retails at $649 at the time of this video. To cover all the new features and upgrades, let's go over all the connections and buttons on the front and back, talking about everything along the way. Starting on the front left, we have two mic line high-Z instrument inputs, and because you'll find a mic line 1 and 2 input on the back of the unit, just know that when you use the 2 in the front, they override inputs 1 and 2 on the back. In the middle of those two inputs appears to be the talkback mic, which brings us to our input select buttons 1 through 8. Whichever input you have selected will light up green. We then have your input gain knob, and I appreciate the LED light that accompanies the knob to show the gain level, since every knob on the interface spins indefinitely and doesn't come to a stop regardless of which way you turn it. We then have a section of small buttons that activate different features for those preamps. First, the link button is used to select a stereo pair. Simply click on it and it'll select a stereo pair based on whatever input you have selected. So 1 and 2 will link, 3 and 4 will link, 5 and 6, and so on. The 48V button activates phantom power for your condenser microphones, and the instrument button toggles whatever input you have selected on the front of the interface between line and instrument. We then have an auto gain button, which introduces the auto gain feature to the 18i20 and is as easy as clicking the button a single time, which activates it on whatever input you have selected, where you'll then talk into the mic for about 10 seconds while the interface sets your gain for you. And if you're still worried about clipping after setting auto gain, you can click the safe button, which activates clip safe mode, and if we take a look, we can see how it keeps the signal from hitting 0 and coming in too hot. Anybody who's used a Scarlett in the last few years is well aware of the air button and how it adds a touch of presence to the built-in preamp to give your vocals or signal a bit of a high-end EQ boost. Well, now Focusrite is expanding on that even further by adding a second mode, presence and harmonic drive mode, which now boosts the mid-range, adding character and punch to whatever you're recording, and that's where the air button comes into play. Click it once and it'll turn green to activate presence mode. Click it again and it'll turn orange for presence and harmonic drive mode, or you could of course leave it off altogether if you want to record a flat, unaltered signal. So this is with the air modes completely off and is how you'd want to record if you want a completely true to source sounding recording without any additional artifacts, handy if you want to EQ and edit in post. And this is with presence activated, which is what you'd want to use to add a bit of a high-end EQ boost. It could be useful with female vocals or guitar, but feel free to experiment and see where it could work. And finally, we have presence and harmonic drive mode. I'm actually curious to hear this one myself after this recording, as it's advertised to add a mid-range boost, and as someone who has a thinner, more sibilant voice, I tend to reach for microphones that are more mid-focused, so this could be a good solution for those like me. In the middle of the front, we have an LED display that shows your input meters for all 8 mic line inputs and your left and right outputs, and I must say, as far as aesthetics go, Focusrite did a nice job and it should sit nice and pretty in any rack. We move on to your monitoring section, which has an Alt button to switch between multiple sets of monitors, a dim button to reduce the output level by 18 dB, an output button which changes meters 1 through 8 to show output metering for any channel selected in the Control 2 mixer software, and mute is self-explanatory. That brings us to our big knob, which once again rotates indefinitely and does not click or stop at any point. You'll use the LED meter to determine volume. Next up is your talkback button, 2 headphone gain knobs with output jacks, and finally your power on and off switch. Now, those headphone outputs have custom designed amps with a dynamic range of 112 dB at 33 ohms and 116 dB at 300 ohms to accommodate different headphones and drive my ATH-M50Xs just fine. As we move to the back of the unit, the first thing we'll see on the right side are the 8 mic pre-line inputs, and while the 2 on the front can also act as high-Z instrument inputs, these are specifically for mic or line level devices. They have a max gain range of 69 dB, plenty of gain to power dynamic mics like the SM7B, and Focusrite calls them ultra low noise. Let's see how much noise we get when we max out the gain knob. We then have 10 balanced outputs where we can connect multiple sets of monitors, which deliver a dynamic range of 122 dBA weighted, with one of the biggest upgrades the 18i20 has seen so far, converters directly from the flagship RedNet interfaces. This means top digital to analog quality when playing back audio, and in the case of perceivable loudness, I only need to push the output knob to about -30 dB, or about 45% of the way to achieve the perfect level in my room. With other interfaces, I'd need to push the output knob to about 80 to 85% to get the same loudness. We then have a MIDI in and out connection, a pair of ADAC connections, an SPDIF in and out, and a word clock output. With the interface, you also get Focusrite's Control 2 software mixer, which can be downloaded to your phone and used as a remote control to control track functions as well as routing and mixing preferences. You also get Hitmaker expansion, which includes a decent range of software, including Antares Autotune Access, Native Instruments Massive, Focusrite SC, the Red 2 and 3 plugin suite, and more. And for those of you concerned about latency, I didn't forget about you. Let's run that latency test now. I'm on Windows 11 for reference. So there you have it. You get new features like auto gain, clip safe mode, 2 air modes to make the built-in preamps even more versatile, and converters straight from the RedNet line, meaning top quality audio. It really is a feature-packed device for the home studio enthusiast who needs a little bit more than those just starting out. But there is one feature I'd like to see Focusrite address on the eventual 5th generation that wasn't done here and would make this unit complete, and that's the ability to bypass the built-in preamp so you can connect external gear like preamps and compressors and go straight into the converters. Adding the extra air mode is a nice way to offset that for those looking for an all-in-one solution, but at some point a good percentage of music makers are going to want to expand to outboard gear, and with a few dedicated line inputs that go straight into the converter, they can do so and not have to change to another interface. Are you looking to upgrade your interface, and if so, did this video help you make a decision? Let me know in the comments below whether you have questions or just want to add to the conversation. Your feedback and insight is appreciated, as I'm sure plenty of viewers in the future may read through the comments. If you appreciated this video, consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell, as I'll have plenty of home studio content coming your way. Until next time, thank you for watching.